Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom. Tom, how's it going?
Really threw me off there. I was leaning in ready for it, and then you just kept me waiting. It's like I jumped off sides. You just waited that extra half beat before you clapped the second time, and I jumped. So 5 yards on me. Sorry.
Just remember, that's my plate.
Really mixing our sports metaphors here.
Dynamite drop in, Monty. I did see a comment the other day that there's one person that does not like the power pause.
Yeah, that was me. Sorry.
That's what I was waiting for. So there you go. I do apologize then to that person. To all the people who appreciate it, I don't know what to tell you. All right. Find a different show. No. Tom, what are we talking about today? We are talking about new Ohio State running back Jacobe Jackson coming in from Florida Gators, and what should we expect from him this year? Tom, over the history of Ohio State bringing in transfer running backs over, I guess, the last, say, 6 years or so, you got Trey Sermon, who started out slowly and then finished with a school record in the Big Ten championship game. You've got Quinshon Judkins, who did pretty well, went for 1,000 yards. You had C.J. Donaldson last year, who did not, had some rushing touchdowns, ran the ball, 95 or 96 times for not quite 4 yards a carry, and showed right away against Texas that he's the Leroy Horde type of guy. And if you guys all remember, Leroy Horde in the NFL was famous for saying, if you need 1 yard, I'll get you 3. If you need 5 yards, I'll get you 3. That sort of thing. So when you've seen that history of running backs at Ohio State that transfer in, Jacobe Jackson's going to fall somewhere in there, right? And he's going to fall in somewhere in between, like the C.J. Donaldson 390 yards and the Quinshon Judkins 1,090 yards. I'm expecting closer to the Donaldson, though.
Yeah, I think he's going to be somewhere between those two guys and leaning Donaldson much more than Quinshon Judkins or Trey Sermon. And, that's not a slam on him. That's probably will not set literally the single game rushing record at Ohio State. Something that is true of literally everyone other than Trey Sermon and Eddie George before him, and probably Archie Griffin before him. So, I think he's going to be probably, I think C.J. Donaldson plus is maybe a good guess. And C.J. Donaldson had, and for the, C.J. Donaldson was the, what's the saying where, if you, all you have is a hammer, or, everything in the world looks like a nail. C.J. Donaldson was basically if C.J. Donaldson's what you have, everything looks like short yardage. Like, yeah, you can get you. He will punch the ball across the goal line. He will score 10 touchdowns for you. That's, that in and of itself is like, wow, that's a pretty productive season. And then you look at a lot of the rest of it, and it's like, well, didn't do a lot with, through the passing game. Did, averaging less than 4 yards a carry. It was fine. He was a solid role player for them. And I think Jacobe Jackson can certainly do that. The question with Jacobe Jackson is he only played 4 games last year. He suffered a season-ending injury against South Carolina in late September last year. So you really only have 1 year at Florida to go back to for him. And it's an interesting season because this is 2024, played in 13 games, had 95 carries, 509 yards, which is not super exciting, 5.4 yards a carry, 7 touchdowns, but 5.4 yards a carry, and you mentioned before the show, he only had 1 rush of 20 yards, which means he's not going to be your big, explosive, big play running back. But if you're averaging 5.4 yards a carry and you're doing it without any explosives, then you're not Leroy Horde, because then you're getting 4.5, 5 yards a carry just about every time you're carrying the ball. And, if you need 1, I'll get you 4.5. And if you need 4, I'll get you 4.5. That kind of puts a different spin on that Leroy Horde thing.
Yeah. In terms of efficiency, I think all of the running, the play efficiency metrics, if you get 5 yards on every rush, you're essentially 100% unless you're behind behind the
Mhm.
sticks, behind the chains, that sort of thing. And they would take that right now. And frankly, that's probably what they're looking for, right? They'll figure out their explosiveness from everybody else. And in terms of like what to expect numbers wise, I think you can look at what CJ Donaldson did last year, which was 96 touches, 96 rushes, and for 361 yards. Now, what Jacobe Jackson did in 2024 was 95 touches for 509 yards. If if that's what he does this year, I think that's a win for Ohio State based on the fact that you also have Bo Jackson, who's going to be your number one. And frankly, I think Jacobe Jackson is battling to be that number two with Isaiah West. James Peoples is off to Penn State, so he has freed some things up. I don't know that you're expecting Turbo Rogers or Legend Bay or Favor Aki to necessarily be in that battle for the number three. Each of those guys is kind of their own type of player, maybe more hit here or there. Initially this year for each of those guys, at least the Favor Aki is probably a year away. But I think Jacobe Jackson versus Isaiah West is a pretty good competition. And frankly, you look at what happened last year, and you could see both of those guys having an opportunity for 95 to 100 rushes because the availability is there for them, unless you're going to give Bo Jackson, 220 rushes next year and this year, and then you start to lose some of those numbers. But Bo Jackson had 180 attempts last year, didn't play in the season opener, but CJ Donaldson had 96 attempts, James Peoples 61, Isaiah West 59. Like those Donaldson, Peoples, and West might now go to just a twosome, and I think it'll be interesting to watch who comes out on top between Jacobe Jackson and Isaiah West. And I'm not really in the mood to bet against Isaiah West right now, although missing spring is going to be unfortunate for him.
Yeah, both Bo Jackson and Isaiah West missing this spring is really going to hamper our ability to handicap this particular race, even heading into the summer. But I think your point about the sort of four-headed running back from last year maybe becoming a little bit more of a three-headed running back this year is a good one, because Legend Bay is a true freshman who didn't play running back in high school. So I don't think I would expect huge things for him as a running back as a freshman. Favor Aki, I think we are broadly expecting to be we'll see in a year kind of player for them. And Turbo Rogers was hurt all of last year. So what do you expect out of Turbo Rogers? This is me shrugging and saying, I guess we'll see during the spring. And we'll probably get a much better sense for Turbo Rogers during the spring, because there will certainly be opportunities for him to show what he can do with Bo Jackson and Isaiah West out. But to your point, I think, something in that 100 carry range for Jacobe Jackson, something in that 100 carry range for Isaiah West, if they get those two guys at, give them 100 carries each and give them 5 yards a carry, so just say 100 carries for 500 yards, I think they're taking that with a smile on their face, assuming you have another 180 or whatever for Bo Jackson, and he's in a little over 5 yards a carry, and he gets to another 1,000-yard kind of season. If you can do that, I think that 2,000 yards out of those three guys, that would be probably a pretty good outcome, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And frankly, if you give each of those two that we're talking about 100 carries, you're probably looking at more closer to 1,100 or 1,200 yards than 1,000. And Bo Jackson averaging 6 yards a carry himself this past year as a freshman, you wouldn't expect him to take a dip, not a significant one. Although we did see that happen with J.K. Dobbins in similar circumstances. So there you go. I've just ruined everybody's day. Let's just go ahead and end the show then. But there you go. Some things that, go ahead and throw us your thoughts on what you expect from Jacobe Jackson in the comments. Do you think he can start? Have you watched him? I watched him against Texas, like the first half or so, and he rushed for 100 yards against Texas in 2024, but they're getting blown out. So it's like, really, hard to judge too much of what we've seen, but we do know Carlos Lachlan locked in on him pretty early on and really wanted him. So we'll see what that means. We'll see some things in the spring, but again, no tackling until September. So that's when you'll really start to learn some things. So there you go. That'll do it from here. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. Leave some comments. Let us know what you think about Jacobe Jackson, Bo Jackson, Janet Jackson. Whatever you have, we'll take it. Doesn't matter. That will do it from here. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you all later.